The Working Artist Project is brought to you by Second Line Arts Collective. Learn how you can support at secondlinearts.org.
We're creating a platform for those who are curious, one that tells the story from the artist's perspective. Moments in time, captured from the innovators who are reshaping dance, music, theater, and the visual arts. This is the Working Artist Project.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome back to the Working Artist Project. My name is Darian Douglas, and we are here once again with the magnanimous, I think that's a word, Greg. I think that's a word. Gregory I.G.
Yeah, what's up? How are you? Derry, did you know there was a time in life where we used to hang out in person?
Oh, I remember that. That was way back in 2009 or something like that, right?
I've just been looking. I've seen you on screen for the last, I guess, 2 years now. I haven't seen you in person in such a long time.
Man, right?
It's been a minute.
It's been a while, which is weird, man. I haven't been to New Orleans in almost 2 years. It's been about a year, over a year and a half, man, which is wild to think about. But
hey, we're both vaccinated. It's time. I think it's time to party.
Hey, man. Hey, next time I see you, we got to make out. Next time I see you, bro. Like so.
All right, that's gonna be edited out of the podcast. Cam, Cam, when you're editing, edit that out.
Hey, man, we want to welcome everybody back to the show. And per usual, we got to make some public service announcements. And the first one is we have a jazz camp coming up, and we definitely want you guys to sign up. If you're around, just head over to secondlinearts.org and check out what we got going on. It's called Sanaa Music Workshop. I don't know if you got some more you want to say about that, Greg.
No, I gotta plug it because it's such an amazing camp, and we've worked really hard over the last 5 years to make this happen. So if anyone knows any young people, 14 through 22, who are interested in pursuing a career in music or just becoming some bad MFers and play an instrument well, we hope that you guys will consider coming to our camp. It's June 14th through the 25th. And it's going to be held Monday through Friday. It's a virtual camp, and we got some incredible artists and musicians that will be, we'll say, mentoring these young people this year. And we'll be, we're covering a range of topics from recording to producing to organization and band leading, finances, and also music. Yeah, we're going to do music too. How about that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna do a little music. We're gonna do a little bit of music. So yeah, other than that, we do have a newsletter, and we want all y'all to go sign up for it right away. Go ahead and you can see it right here. Go ahead and sign up for it. So because every week, either me or Greg gives you $1 billion idea for free. And so go ahead and go over there and sign up. Let's get into tonight's show, man, because we got somebody super special tonight, the one and only Marvin Sewell, and y'all might have heard him playing with the greatest of the greats. Let's see who we're gonna start with. Y'all might have heard of this guy called Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter. Who else, Greg? Who else he got?
We got Cassandra Wilson. I read Jack Dejohnette, Charles Lloyd. I mean, it's like I was kind of going down the list, and I was like, it's pretty amazing to have a resume like that. On top of the fact that this gentleman is an incredible solo artist himself.
Absolutely,
we're very blessed to have him here on the podcast and share some of his experiences and perspective with us.
Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and welcome the one and only Marvin Sewell to the Working Artist Project. What's up, Marvin? You there?
Hey, what's happening?
What's up, man? What's up? Hey,
I'm
man.
good. Hey, let me give a little quick editor's note.
Okay.
So none of these I'm cursing already. Chicago is showing up.
No,
so none of these people would talk stuff. Like in the resume where I said that I played with Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter. I did performances with them. I didn't play in a band, but I played with them and played stage and did a big Joni Mitchell project. So
wow.
Just in case some asshole come up, oh, he didn't play with him, blah blah blah. That's all. I'm just but
the guy or the woman saying that you didn't play with him definitely didn't play with him. So you was on the stage, you played with him.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So
you could list anyone on that list, and after hearing you play, I would totally believe it, never question it. However, when I see like a little 22-year-old around, it says like I play with Herbie Hancock, Sting, and whoever, I'm like, wow, really?
playing at jazz camp with somebody don't count. So let's put that out there. But yeah, Marvin. So I want to jump right into your vibe, and I kind of want to start in Chicago, but maybe not at the beginning, but just how you came to your sound, and I'm assuming that came from Chicago because it's so unique and that's where you're from.
Yeah. How I came into my sound. One, like I used to just read a lot about what, for instance, a lot of jazz musicians would say and stuff. And there was one quote that I'm more or less describing the philosophy. There was one quote that I heard Freddie Hubbard, I believe Freddie Hubbard said it. He said, hey, I take a little bit, or he either said I take a little bit or I can't play like, Dizzy or Louis or Clifford and stuff. He said, I take a little bit of all of them and put myself in it. And I used to, I was amazed at how a lot of the musicians, a lot of the greats, no matter, what genre of music, I could always tell between I can always tell between Donald Byrd. I can tell the difference between Donald Byrd and Clifford Brown. I can tell between the difference between somebody like Booker Little or Blue Mitchell, or the difference between somebody like Sonny Stitt or Sonny Chris. So I mean, I say, man, all of these cats, I can they were distinctive, like, Wayne Shorter, you hear him immediately, or Coltrane or Bird, or, Lester Young, Coleman Hawkins, those cats, or, the blues cats, Robert Nighthawk, or Albert King, B.B. King, Max Lipscott, all of those. So I assume that's what you were supposed to do. That was part of the tradition in moving the music forward, is to take all those influences and absorb them and get into that sound, but you have to develop your own type of your own voice and stuff. It wasn't, but it wasn't, I would like to say it wasn't sort of necessarily a conscious thing. Like I wasn't like saying, man, I'm gonna have my own voice, man, and this is what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like that. I just took, like, I would take like excerpts from like some solos. I would learn like some lines, and then I would reinterpret it and phrase it the way I would phrase it like them, and then I would phrase it another way and sort of like flip stuff around and say, man, how would it sound if I do it like this, and does that sound good for me, and is that cool for me, and and I like it when I do it like this and not like this. What about if I phrase it like that? But it wasn't, I wasn't like consciously thinking, man, I'm going to develop my own sound, and this is how I'm going to do it, so I just kept the whole thing in my mind that, you have to have your own voice and stuff, I mean, one thing I would say, and then I'll chill. I used to learn a lot of transcribed solos. And at a point, I felt like after learning all those solos, I mean, it was good for the technique and good for the knowledge of not just what they were doing, but why they were doing it, and then a how. But after a while, it felt like it felt like I was just imitating. So I had to like take what they did and apply it to how I would do it, and come up with my own lines and start taking their lines and sort of doing little variations on it, and adding stuff to it. So
right.
It's interesting. After hearing you say that, I can imagine you playing the exact same line as 10 other guitar players, but still you having your own unique voice with the same notes. So I was maybe wondering if you'd be able to speak to some of your influences on the guitar, and maybe how, again, like I love the humility that you have in describing the way you play too, because you have such a unique sound, and it's
Thank
interesting
you.
to hear how you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as influences on guitar, you got another 4 hours. I mean, my earlier when I first started playing, the main cats that I was listening to were Ernie Isley, uh, Jimi Hendrix, um, guys in my neighborhood that played, this guitar player named Bay, another guy named Clifford Jenkins, another guitar player named York, another guitar player named Burt Mel. But this is Chicago. But let me tell you, like, people that you guys would know about. Like, it was Ernie Isley, Hendrix, Al McKay from Earth, Wind and Fire, Ray Parker Jr., Wawa Watson, the Lee Ritenour, Larry Carlton, Jay Drayden, Steve Lukather, that type of thing. Because at a certain point, I kind of wanted to be a studio musician. And then when I started getting more into jazz, it became, and even before jazz, George Benson, because by that time when I was growing up, George Benson was commercially popular. And I used to breezing that record out, wore out.
Yeah.
To me, that is one of the best guitar records of all time.
Oh wow.
Just I mean, he's doing all the riffing and stuff, but musically, so it was. Then, when I got into jazz, it was, as far as guitar, George Benson, Tal Follow, Jimmy Rainey. I loved me some Jimmy Rainey. Jimmy Rainey, Charlie Christian, Django Reinhardt. I listened to Django, but not as much as like some of the other cats. Barney Kessel, Howard Roberts. Damn, I don't want to forget anybody, but it was people, those artists. Some Grant Green, Pat Martino, those type of cats for guitar. Dennis Buttermere, he's more of a California. He used to play with Chico Freeman. I mean, I'm sorry, Chico Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there was so many. Yeah, Freddie Green. I actually, I'm telling my age. Actually, I saw Freddie Green with the Count Basie Orchestra when I was a teenager.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and Cleveland Eden was playing bass. Yeah, a lot of.
Is it true that he never took a solo?
Man, I actually have a record somewhere in my CD files where Freddie Green is soloing.
Oh,
Wow.
with Basie?
Not with Basie, it's a small group.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have to look it up, because this had gotten this record years ago, and his sound was very similar to, his approach was kind of very similar to like Charlie Christian, and then Also, the other guitar influences would, came from like a lot of blues cats too, and then later on into like folk music. You know, I big influence in the blues guitar for me was Robert Nighthawk. You know, it's so many. Big Bill Brunsey, Muddy Waters, Hubert Sumlin, the God, as far as I'm concerned. Hubert Sumlin, yeah, folk music. I was into cats like I love like cats like Leo Cocky, a lot of the English folk guitars, Bert Janus, I mean, it's, lot stuff like that, and like I said earlier, like Ray Parker Jr., Wawa Watson, I was totally into, the whole rhythm guitar thing and stuff, so it kind of spanned the gamut and stuff, and as well as people like Alan Holdsworth, and when I first heard Alan Holdsworth, I was like blown away. Alan Holdsworth, Al Di Meola. I didn't even realize that when I first heard Al Di Meola, I thought they speeded up the tape. I said, how is he playing that fast? I think the first tune I heard of Al Di Meola is this tune, Race with the Devil on the Spanish Highway, off his Elegant Gypsy record and stuff. I was like, I was like, what? So it was like a whole gamut, of, like I used to love like American rock bands like Kansas. Man, I love that group. Woo, like the Midwestern rock bands. They used to be killing it and stuff, So it kind of ran the gamut and stuff. We, in our neighborhood and amongst like some of the musicians, that people listen to some of everything.
Yeah, you just gave us a whole history of guitar just now, man. Me and Greg are taking notes, so we're gonna have something to listen to for the next 30 years. You know what I mean?
It's really it's like fascinating too with the guitar, because like there's such a vast history of music that spans in like so many genres and time and everything. It's just it's really amazing.
Yeah. Guitar is funky because it can just really fit into anything and be killing, no matter what it's like. Genres don't really matter for guitar like it does for other instruments. You know what I mean? Man, I want to talk about your time, like when you first got to New York and you started playing with a famous drummer. And I want you to tell us about that. Like, how does that even happen? You was in a grocery store, you ran into him. What happened?
Oh, okay.
Gig with Jack D. Everybody wanted a gig with Jack D, and you got it. What you do?
I was simply at home minding my own business. That's what I was doing. Basically, that's what. Look, I tell you, I told this story yesterday. What happened is that I moved to New York in the early '90s. You gig around, people recommend you for stuff and things like that. I got recommended to play on this gig with a vibraphonist named Cecilia Smith. Okay. And the drummer was Gene Jackson.
Oh shit.
And the bass player was Lonnie Plaxico.
Wow.
Like I knew who Lonnie was. It's because Lonnie used to teach a friend of mine in Chicago. We're both from Chicago, and but I never met Lonnie in Chicago. I met Lonnie in New York. So I go to the rehearsal and I'm learning the music and I'm playing, and Lonnie is asking me questions and stuff like, hey, can, because Lonnie is very, interested in like, guitar and bass technique and how to express yourself and do all different stuff. He said, hey man, can you do this? I said, yeah. How do you do this? I say, I just do it like this and blah, blah, blah. And he was like looking at me. He like said, man, how come I don't know you? And I said, I don't know, I don't know, what I say, I know who you are and stuff, because you taught my friend and stuff, and I saw you with Art Blakey in Chicago and all of that. So, I mean, so we did a few gigs together, and it was cool and stuff. We do hits and stuff, and it was nice. And then one time I was at home, and I knew that he played with, he was a jazz messenger, and we played with cats like Dexter Gordon and all sorts of folks, and he was playing with Jack Dejohnette's group. I didn't think anything of it and stuff. I mean, I love Jack, but I wasn't thinking I want to gig with Jack,
Right.
Yeah. And what happened was that I'm at, like I said, I was at home one evening and I get a call and it's Lonnie, and Lonnie said, "Hey Marvin, Jack is looking for a guitar player." I said, "Oh, cool." So it was like, yeah, all right, cool. I want you to do the gig. You can do this. You can do this. I was like, I said, man, and I got like almost like couldn't breathe. Jack Dejohnette. I mean, I don't know, man. No, he said, no, you can do this. You can do this. I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna call him, and then I'm gonna give you his number. And you call him, and y'all gonna talk and stuff like this. I was like, oh man, I said, man, I can't do that, man. He said, no, you can do this and stuff like that. I said, no. I said, okay. I said, okay. So he gave me his number, and I called, and I said, is this Jack? I might have said something. Is this Jack Dejohnette and stuff? Right. I'm Marvin Sewell, and Lonnie gave me your number, and and stuff like that. And Jack was like, yeah, man. He was like, because he didn't know who I was and stuff. He said, yeah, look, man, I'll call you back. I said, okay. And then I called Lonnie back. He said, yeah, he said he'd call me back. I said, cool. He said, okay. And actually, I was kind of relieved. It's because I said, man, I hope he don't call me back. I don't, it's because, I ain't, I mean, I don't know and stuff, I've been out here, but I've been out here playing and stuff, it wasn't that.
Right.
I wasn't confident, but at the same time, it just got me nervous and stuff. I was like, oh, what? Who? And so about a half an hour to an hour passed by. Lonnie calls me up. He said, did Jack call you yet? I said, no. All right, hold on. Hung up the phone. And I guess he called up Jack. And then Jack finally called me. And Jack was like saying, well, man, I'm looking for a guitar player, to play with Special Edition and doing this and that, blah blah. Why don't you send me, this is when cassettes were still, had popular. He said, man, send me a cassette of what you playing. This is my address, blah blah blah, and send me a cassette of what you playing, and we'll see. Maybe you can get an audition, because it was an audition. It wasn't like as if Lonnie called me and he recommended me and Jack said, okay, you in the group. It wasn't right. Like that. This was just for me to get an audition. So that's what it was. So a year before that, I did get Gary Thomas's phone number, and I called him and I asked Gary, I say, man, I love your playing, and I was wondering if I can send you a tape of what I'm doing and stuff. If you ever interested, maybe wanting to use a guitar player, me as a guitar player. He said, sure, send me something. So he sent me so I sent him something, but I had never heard back from him. Huh. Never heard from him anything. So one time I don't remember, I mean, so long ago, but what made Jack interested in hearing me was Gary. Because what happened, Jack had got on the phone with Gary, and they were talking, and Jack mentioned, well, Lonnie recommended this guitar player that he his name is Marvin Sewell, and Gary said, oh, yeah, you should check him out. He's good. Because he had a tape. He said, you should check him out. That's when Jack became interested.
Wow.
That sparked his interest and stuff. And then he called me with a little bit more excitement. He said, yeah, so yeah, Gary said that, he liked your plan and stuff, so I wanted to, and I think he had heard me. I think by that time he might have heard the stuff that I had sent him on cassette tape. And he said, man, it sounds good. It was the tape of me playing with my good friend Jorge Sylvester, alto saxophonist and composer. And I played in his group, and still play with Jorge today. I mean, and he was like saying, yeah, Gary said he really liked your plan. So, I'm going to send you a bunch of music to learn. And, you just be ready for it for the audition and stuff. You come up, we'll play, and that's basically, what happened. And to be brief, when I went to the audition, it was me, Gary, and Lonnie.
Wow.
It's just a trio. Mike Kane, piano player, great composer. He wasn't there, and Gary Thomas, he wasn't there. It was just a trio. So I forget what rehearsal studio it was. It probably don't exist anymore. So there was another guitar player that they auditioned. So they were in there playing and doing their thing, because I think he auditioned a few cats and stuff, checked out a few cats or heard some cats, and some people gave recommendations to Jack. So I walk up in the room and it's Jack Dejohnette, and I'd never seen him in person, and I'm nervous. Hey man, it's Jack, and I'm nervous and stuff. And I was putting my input jacks in the wrong places and stuff, I'm, nervous and trying to, it's like, it's because I'm, these like jazz greats, they were they're gods at that. I mean, they still are. I mean, gods to me, man, to see somebody like Jack in person, or Joe Henderson in person, or Dexter Gordon in person. It was like I was just shocked. It's like, oh damn, it's Dexter Gordon, stuff like that. So that it made me nervous and stuff. And we played like a tune or two, and I was just, to excuse my language, kids, but I was just fucking up. I was fucking up because I was like nervous and stuff. And I remember, because I kind of looked over at Lonnie, and Lonnie had this look like, you gonna come in here and fuck this shit up, man. I recommend it. I mean, it was that kind of look. I don't know if he even remembered, but he had that look on his face like, man, but after a while we started playing stuff, and I just got more relaxed, and started more relaxed, and just started playing, and just started getting into what Jack and Lonnie were doing, and started getting into the music, and say, yeah, okay, just got into it, and say, hey man, just play, man. Don't worry about who he is and stuff like that, and just play. And and Jack probably made me feel a lot more comfortable. He said, okay, let's go over this, and let's do this, and then Lonnie would he say, hey Marvin, play some of that rhythm guitar stuff, man. Let Jack, so Jack can know that I can do other styles of music. So I did some of that stuff, and he seemed pretty, after the audition, he seemed pretty cool. And one time I was in Harlem. I went on a payphone to check my answering machine, and Lonnie said, hey man, Lonnie left a message. He said, hey man, call me, give me a call when you get a chance. So I called him up. He said, man, I think you got the gig. I said, what do you mean? He said, Jack don't want to hear anybody else. He thinks that he loves the way you play. Man, that's all he's talking about is you.
Wow.
Nice.
That's all he's talking about, you, and that's it was like, he said, man, because Lonnie's from Chicago, Jack is from Chicago, and I'm from Chicago. And he said, Jack also, as an added thing, he liked the fact that you're from Chicago.
Right.
So that's basically how I wind up hooking, getting that gig. It's just like, I mean, it was a little controversial because I got vibed a lot, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I got vibed a lot. It's because some people felt like, oh, this kid just got in town. How he get the gig? I mean, I've had cats like coming off the stage and cat look at me, yeah, man, such and such and such and such, blah blah blah. How did you get the gig?
Wow.
And I was like, I said, man, I auditioned like everybody else and stuff, and so it was kind of, it was those times. I mean, for me at least and stuff, it was a little, it was, I was happy to have that. I was happy to be on that and to share the stage with Gary, Jack, Lonnie, and Mike. But at the same time, it was like some other energy that I had to kind of block out and stuff. It's because, it was like, I think that was the running thing. He just got in town and blah blah blah. I mean, I hope I don't sound like I'm, bitter or anything, but there, it's stuff. It was like, there were like rumors and stuff. He said, a friend of mine said, yeah, man, this cat told me that he used to be your roommate in Spain and you couldn't even tune your guitar.
What?
and it was like some strange shit because I'm like a real, at that time I was sort of like a city kid that lived in the neighborhood and hardly going outside of my neighborhood in Chicago. So
Right.
I at that time I had never flew to Europe.
Oh wow.
I'd never been to Europe, and there was this rumor that I lived in Spain with a roommate, and I didn't even know how to tune my guitar. I was like, God damn, man, So
Oh,
I
man.
said, okay, cool, man.
That's how you know you made it.
Yeah.
This shit was funny.
I've never even been to Spain.
Yeah, I mean, I had to laugh at that. I was like, oh, okay,
Oh man, that's
Man,
classic.
that's such a beautiful story, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. You kind of you mentioned a couple things about maybe kind of getting nervous when you had the opportunity to first talk to Jack Dejohnette,
Mm-hmm.
and also again like on the back end of it, kind of the pressure you got from other people, just for having such a high profile gig. I was wondering if you could speak on like preparation for, because I guess as musicians we don't know when we're gonna get the call, we don't know who is gonna call us, and so
Mm-hmm.
we always have to be prepared for the unknown on some level. And I was wondering if you could speak on how one could prepare for getting called by Herbie Hancock or any of the cats who have called you over the years.
Uh, well, on one tip, the fact that they called you probably means that you doing something that they dig,
Hmm.
that you've done some work or whatever to prepare for you that moment. I mean, I would say that, as far as, a more tangible thing is to learn they is to learn that artist's music as much as you can, and to learn it inside out. You're not going to necessarily have it down like the back of your hand. And the reason why I say that is because it's almost like it's a different thing when you practicing at home. That's one thing, and you look like sometimes I'm here practicing at home. I'm playing with trying to play in time and stuff, and I'm playing all sorts of stuff. You get on that stage, man, it's a different ball game because you know what I mean. It's because you have to you're playing with people, you're playing with other people, and you're playing with other people's different time field and stuff, and you're not. I think Lonnie had told me this. It's like when you practicing at home, you playing on your terms. When you out in this field, you playing on everybody's terms. You have to. There's a lot of elements you have to deal with. But I think the best thing to do is try to prepare for if it's a particular gig, to prepare for that and learn the music as much as you can. But you never know who's going to call you anyway. So I think it's just important to just try to better yourself at being who you are and what you want to work on and what you want to hone in on, and say, hey, like, I really need to work on this finger picking thing, or I really need to get my phrasing together, or, that's some technical stuff, but there's also you preparing yourself to sound more like you. So it's not just also a craft thing, it's also an artistry thing too, and also preparing yourself for a particular big gig. One way to do that is to play with other people and stuff. Sometimes, you play some gigs that, that maybe some local gigs and stuff, to get you, warmed up or experiment. Like I used to, like, I would do gigs and stuff and where people didn't necessarily want slide guitar, but I would bring it anyway. And when I played it, if they liked it, they say, man, bring that guitar and stuff. So it forced me to prepare to get my slide guitar out, work on, playing the chords and knowing where I'm at, and different keys and intonation and damping techniques and stuff like that. So you just have to find ways to put yourself out there to, to challenge yourself. I hope I answered your question. I don't.
And just out of curiosity, I mean, how did you deal with all the bullshit like that was floating around? The stuff, the chatter around you.
Sometimes I dealt with it just by blocking it out, and sometimes sometimes I got a little bit pissed off about it and a little cynical, but at the same time, the thing I realized what I had to do is because, there's going to be chatter about anything you do, and the thing you do is to immerse yourself in the music and do what you do and stuff. What the hell I'm going to do? Say, oh man, maybe I shouldn't do the gig because, this guy is better than me. And I'm a nice guy and shit, like, fuck that shit. So I'm sorry that I'm not Chicago-ness is coming out, but you just have to, you have to maintain. It's even like with it's just like, I think Monk said that you have to stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Do you and do what you do, because nobody's going to do you better than you as long as you're doing you. Mm-hmm. So people can talk all they want to and stuff. Let them. It's not that easy either. It's because you're always fighting against. You're always fighting against yourself, trying to, like, a lot of people out here fight against themselves, that, like, having self-doubt about their own abilities and stuff. And I heard this one brother he said, look, there's a reason 9 times out of the 10 that the position that you're in is because you work for it and you earn it, own it.
I like that.
I love that.
Yeah. I that came from this guy named Dr. Hassan Johnson. It's not me, but when he said it, I was like, damn. He said, own it.
Yeah. That's some beautiful advice, man. I think as creatives, a lot of times we get in our own way.
Exactly.
We just defeat ourselves before we play the first note, even though we here for a reason,
Yeah.
Marvin, why don't we go ahead and take a listen to your work, since everybody's on the edge of their seats and they want to hear what you can do. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this next tune, and this is one I think that we all know.
My dream of love is coming true within the stars it never find.
Yeah, bro. That was killing, man.
Oh yeah, really? I would have done a few different things. Oh man, sometimes I'll say, oh damn, what was it? Anyway, sorry. Let me quit being self-deprecating and stuff.
We just talked,
Okay.
Marvin.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah,
that
man.
shit's hard though to practice though. It's look, for any young person out there, one of the hardest things to do in life is listen to yourself play.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's man. I saw that video, and for me and Greg, I like learned to play music by watching people like Hurling, and Cassandra is from Jackson, where I'm from.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, like all of those people on stage were my idols, and so it was including you. So
Oh,
it's kind of
thank you.
special for me to see that, with J Bat on piano. It's like, wow, man, like that's
Hmm.
so you play with Cassandra for I think 9 years.
Ooh, I played with Cassandra. They're like different periods. Like first time. Okay, yeah, that's to well, okay, because that's a lot of little other details. But I've started touring with Cassandra in 1996.
Wow.
I toured with her from 1996 to 2000 to late 2002. And then I left for 2 years, came back in 2004, like the winter 2004, and stayed with her into about 2012.
Wow.
Then I was gone for another 5 years. And then I started playing with her again from 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm. I was her musical director for if you want to total it, I was her musical director for maybe about what 8, 9, 10, 11, probably a total of about 5 years, maybe.
Wow. So everybody,
Yeah.
I see why everybody hated you, man. You got to New York in 95, right? 95, somewhere in there.
Actually, 1990. Yeah.
1990. You got the gig with Jack, and then you get the gig with Cassandra, win some Grammys, all of this. That's why everybody hated you, man. This is crazy. You cheated, man.
Yeah. You know. Yeah, but I mean, but that was playing with Cassandra was a great thing, and it was no easy feat getting in that band.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, playing with her was getting in that band was no easy feat.
Mhm.
You know, when I was recommended to do the tour with her, and I had played like previous perform gigs with her and stuff, like one-offs and stuff. Um, we had to learn, I had to learn a whole bunch of the music, and I got to a rehearsal and I didn't have my stuff together.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have it together. It's because I kind of underestimated the complexity of the music. Not underestimate. I just wasn't prepared.
Hmm.
And at that time, Lonnie was the musical director, and he said, "Man, if Cassandra was here, you wouldn't have made it, dude."
Wow.
So it's like said, "Man, you need to go back and work on. You need to go back and learn these tunes and stuff." So you know, I went home and worked on some stuff. Came back to him. We were playing. He said, "Man, your shit still ain't together, dude." He said, "You no." Yeah, I mean, he would like stop me every 2 measures and
Wow.
stuff. It was kind of like that and stuff, and to the point where I said, "Man, I can't stand this dude," So, but he was like being a friend. He told me the truth, and he said something that triggered me in a positive way. And he almost like said it in passing. He said, man, why don't you just write this stuff out, man? And I like went home and I said, you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to write it. Everything I hear, I'm going to write it out. When I did that, my head got so much into the music that I didn't even need the music. It became, the music kind of got into me and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to go back and make sure this rhythm was right, make sure this note was right and stuff like that. Was this the right guitar tuning and stuff like that? Was this an open string? Can I do this? I had gotten so much from just writing it out and just slow learning that by the time I got to that next rehearsal, I was like soaring because I knew every nook and cranny. I mean, not that it was perfect, but I knew the music, I knew the forms, I knew everything. It was just a matter for me to get on the gig and to really like refine what I had learned and stuff, you know. So it wasn't, but you know, it kind of wasn't like kind of a, yeah, man, she called me for the gig and I was on there and I was cool, you know, we did it and shit, and, you know, I mean, it was not like that, you know. A lot of people, you know, I don't know, maybe because, you know, working with a singer, they think, oh, you know, gig is easy, man. You know, it's just, you know, chord changes and stuff. You can't, like with Cassandra's music, you can't play her music in terms of chord changes. You're not going to have a chord chart and be able to, you have to immerse yourself in it. Especially anything that's conceptual, a chord chart with B flat seventh and D minor seventh, it's not going to tell you what you need to know. You know, So I had to immerse myself, you know, really into that, into her world, and stuff, you know. So yeah.
I love the point that you made too. Is like, again, even someone who's an incredible musician like yourself, you still have to put the time in to learn the music.
Yeah, yeah. You have to. You know, you always have to be prepared and stuff. And just like I said, with if you're dealing with an artist who has sort of a conceptual thing going on, like I said, a chord, especially with guitar, when you're dealing with different guitar tunings and like finger picking and sounds and textural stuff, B flat seven is not going to tell you anything. You'll get to, okay, that's the chord, but
right. But you know, it's a lot of times, you know, it's like that with vocalists more so, because when you play with a horn player, they give you all the information. And not to say the vocalists don't give you all the information, but there's more of a vibe and an energy. Like even when we're playing with Brianna Thomas, you know, like it's like you said, it's conceptual. It's like, what vibe is this? Because you can't write it down. You have to form the H song as a band, and then internalize it and try to remember it and then deliver it, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah, it is, and at the same time, you're doing that, but you also being, in particular when you're working with a singer, you're being an accompanist, and you trying to do that, and then like with the case with Cassandra, you also expected to, you know, to put your own creativity into it. You know, playing with Cassandra, she just don't want you to accompany her. She want you to throw some ideas at her so she can respond to you. You know, it wasn't you know, sit back and play and stuff like that, and just, you know,
B flat seven.
B flat seventh, or, you know, I mean, if I played the same solo every night, she gonna catch that, and she gonna, you know, I couldn't go on stage and play the same solo every night. I can safely say Cassandra would rather see me take chances and really just mess up some stuff than play the same solo every night. I guarantee.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, we running out of time, Marvin.
Oh, okay.
But look, before we go, I do want to give you an opportunity to tell the people where they can connect with you online, and if you got some merch you want them to buy, CDs or whatever you got happening.
Man. Yeah, I need to work on that. I mean, I have an Instagram account. I think it's marvin.sewell.guitar. You know, I'm trying to get better at like posting stuff and, you know, things like that. I still have my one and only recorded record as a solo album, Marvin Sewell, the Marvin Sewell group, the Workers Dance, but
Yeah.
I am planning on recording more stuff. You know, I have a lot of tunes that I've written over the years, and I want to get those out and do that. So, you know, be on the lookout for that. You know, yeah,
Okay.
as soon as I get myself together, you know.
All right, love it. So yeah, y'all can at least go to his website, check that out, find him on Facebook and Instagram, and hit Marvin in the DMs and let him know how much you love him, and also ask him about that roommate in Spain, because he just won't let it out and tell us the truth about it. And I'm tired.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that, I just had to start laughing. I was like, damn. I said, okay, cool. You know, the hell, man. You know.
That's how you know you made it. When you start hearing rumors about yourself, you're like, damn, I did that.
Yeah, you know.
Like, shit, I'm a bad motherfucker too. Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You know, teleported myself to Spain and stayed there for a while. Then, you know, I mean, I don't, you know, it was that I have to laugh at. You know. Yeah. So
look, man, thanks for coming on the Working Artist Project, man. We appreciate you, man.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate you all you know, having me as a guest. And
Right.
you know.
Yeah, Marvin, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you, and you have just such a beautiful spirit and an incredible musicianship, and thank you for spending your time with us and sharing all that with us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me once again.
All right, my name is Darian Douglas.
I'm Gregory Ajid.
And this is the Working Artist Project. We'll catch y'all later.